Hi, and welcome to the Fierce Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Brigette Gildemaster. This is a podcast for those who are ready to leave behind survival mode after abuse, where we talk about what it looks like to embody who you are as an individual, learn to love yourself, and bring to light healing after surviving abuse from relationships and religion. Pop your earbuds in to hear heartfelt and powerful intensity from myself and guests. Be ready to put into place actual tools and gather insight for you to use on your healing journey. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Brigette Gildemaster. Today I have, I didn't ask you how to pronounce your name.
Sonja.
It is Sonja. Okay, I just want to make sure. I get so nervous about butchering people's names, and so but we have Sonja with us here today, and I am really excited about her story and what she has to share and what she has overcome with all that she has been through. She has some amazing words and just an insight that I haven't quite heard yet before, and so I'm really excited to hear more. So I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you so much, Brigette. My name is Sonja Renee, and I am a speaker and author, and I speak about the invisible wound that leaves us emotionally hurt, which is abandonment trauma. And through awareness and personal development, I help people bounce back to live their most amazing life. And how I came upon this particular journey is a few years ago when I turned 49. I found out that I was adopted by accident. And that took me on a deep dive to get some answers because I'm owed some answers. What is going on? So my mother was already deceased. My father, I reached out to him to try to get some answers, and he was not ready to give those answers because he was in shock that I found out. And I took a deep dive to get to learn to meet my new family, my birth family. And in doing so, everybody was welcoming on both sides, my mother's side and my father's side. Everybody was welcoming. I have two sisters on my mother's side. On my father's side, I'm the only child. So he was just over the moon to have a daughter and 3 grandchildren and a great grandson. So, however, my birth mother wasn't ready. And I understood because I didn't know what happened back then. I didn't know the details. She wasn't ready to share the details. She wasn't ready to revisit that moment of trauma in her life because she was a teen mom. She was 18 years old when she had me. So I gave her that grace because we don't get to tell someone how to heal or how long their healing process should be. So I did give her some grace, and about a year passed, and everything was going good with my sisters and my cousins. They're meeting my children, and we're going on vacations and showing up for each other for events and holidays. It was just amazing, right? So the only component that was missing was my mother. So I reached back out to her, and she didn't respond. So I felt like, okay, I'll just move on. But in time, I started having emotions of hurt. And so I realized that I was being abandoned twice by the same person. So I said, okay, I need to do the healing work on that. So I was journaling one day, and God said, write a book on abandonment. And I said, well, I don't know anything about abandonment because I only associated abandonment with being needy or clingy. I'm neither. However, in writing the book and doing research, I've learned that there are so many other wounds that are associated with abandonment trauma, like overgiving. That was one of my traits. I would overgive because I'm a giver by nature, but I didn't have any boundaries on when to say no. And threatening to leave. I know when I was married, I was going through issues with my ex-husband. I was threatening to leave like every other year. So I was out of here every other year. Until I finally decided to just, you know what, I'm not going to say it unless I'm ready to actually do it, because he wasn't taking me seriously. And also that's a form of manipulation, try to get that person to act right, to act the way you want them to be, to be the way you want them to be. And when I started healing, I learned that what we do is what we should do. Is just allow a person to be themselves, and then we can decide if we want to participate in it. So I wrote the book. It's called Abandonment is Not Your Fault, because how a person treats you says everything about them and nothing about you. And it's not your fault to take on the accountability of other people's behaviors, because at the end of the day, as an adult, they had a choice. Okay. So I wrote the book, and it was therapeutic for me, putting pen to paper, of writing out the types of relationships that I had with my parents and my siblings and friends, and even my ex-spouse, even my children. It just all made me realize that the relationships that I was in created the wounds that I had. And so when I was able to identify the type of wounds that I had, then I could start the healing process of plucking it up from the root, because these wounds are from childhood, and most of us, they're from childhood, and they're
Mm.
sitting in us and lying dormant in us so long that we don't even know they're there until we're triggered. And then even when we're triggered, we don't know where it came from if we haven't done the work to heal. Right. So what I'm doing, and what I did in my book, was to help people identify different types of relationships that aren't healthy. And now in my revision that I'm writing, because I wrote this book a couple of years ago. So now in my revision, I'm adding more, going deeper and adding more depth and detail into the specific type of wound, the behaviors that's and the types of relationships that surround it, so that people can make a decision of doing the work to heal the relationship or walk away from the relationship, and learn how to have these healthy boundaries, not just on the other person, but also boundaries on yourself, of where you want, how far you're willing to go, how much you're willing to give, how much you choose to show up for someone else. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have boundaries on ourselves, that's where other people can come in and take advantage. And so, with all of that, I do my speaker keynotes to share with people about these wounds, to be aware. I mean, people know that there are abandonment wounds out there, but a lot of people don't know what type of wounds there are. They don't know how they're all associated, like trust issues and depression. They're all associated. Guilt wounds. All of these are under the umbrella of abandonment trauma. However, a lot of people don't know how to associate the wound with the behaviors and the relationships. It is a triple connection. And so when you can do all of that, then you can have the results and the transformation. And I'm all about the transformation. And I will say, this was not easy for me, because I'm a private person, and putting my truth on paper for the world to read, it was very I, I was a little nerve-wracking at first. However, because again, through my trauma, I was always left to deal with my emotions by myself. So I got accustomed to that. But now, as a person who is healed, and still, you're always going to be healing to the day you die, right? So it's always going to be something that'll trigger you. But I've healed from a lot of things. And when you've done a thing, you can teach a thing. And documentation beats conversation, because my documentation is my story. It's my real life story. And so I was vulnerable and very transparent in this book, as well as will be in the revision, so that other people can have the opportunity to have the transformation as well. Imagine how much wonderful the world would be when we're all transformed.
Yeah. Oh, I love your story. It's so beautiful. You're so in depth and precise, even in your journey and sharing like your own healing and your own toxic traits you saw in yourself. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore unless I can follow through, or, and just how that transformed for you as an individual in yourself too. Like that is, I think, it has been overlooked quite a bit in the trauma world sometimes, especially where, I'm in the relationships, you are dealing with a toxic spouse. And so we forget that we're going through that healing journey too, and the side effects
Mhm.
of that, the ramifications of that. So I
Yes.
love what you're speaking on, because it is not an easy road. And it's to like be dealing with all that and coping with that and being in survival mode and going through all that, and then also have to heal on top of it. And so the fact that you have a book and you're speaking out loud, bringing that to life for the person who's trying to heal and bringing that insight in for them is just phenomenal. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's funny you mentioned survival because I'm a Gen Xer.
Mhm.
And we were raised on survival. We were latchkey kids. We practically raised ourselves, and
Mhm.
we weren't raised much on love, but more on survival because even our parents, baby boomers coming out of the 40s, 50s, the 60s, and everything that was going on in the world, and then their parents coming out of almost our parents coming out of bondage. It was all about we got to survive. We have to live to see another day. And it was, this is what you do to make it home safely. This is what you do to survive. And so the love was, I love you because I'm providing for you. But the emotional connection wasn't there. That's emotional abandonment that I experienced with my mother. I know she loved me. I was well provided for. I didn't have a need for anything material. I had a roof over my head. I was raised cultured. I was athletic. I was in ballet. I played in the orchestra. I'm an actor. So I was raised cultured and educated. But that affection, and because I didn't, and here's the key, I didn't have this. I did reconcile with my mother last year. We did. She did reach out to me, right, and we did reconcile. And she told me the story. But in that, she never got a chance to hold me. So we never had that skin to skin touch with my mother, right? And then when I was adopted at 1 month old, I had a mother who still was emotionally detached because of how she had walls up because of what she went through in her marriage. So you see how it's a generational curse. And if we don't heal it, then it continues to go on because when the parents heal, the children heal and the community heals.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yeah, so true. I feel that deeply because I am a parent as well, and dealing through my healing journey, I kind of see how things are just being passed right down. And it's like, hey, and you have to give yourself grace and know you're doing your best. But yeah, it's right there. You can see it. It's like looking in a mirror
Mhm.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, your children will be your mirror.
Hmm.
And the older you get, the more trauma you have to unpack. So my urge is for people, no matter how old you are, get started. You don't have to be great to start. You just have to start to become great. Just get started.
Yeah. So on that, like what started you on your healing journey when you found this and just started recognizing I need to do something about this. I need to, you know, where did that go for
When
you?
I started writing the book and all of these wounds started to surface that had been deep rooted in me, because as a child, I come from a strict household. You're told the child stay in a child's place. I'll tell you when you can talk. I'll tell you when you have feelings. You still speak in grown folks' business. Disrespect was not allowed. Discipline was firm. And so, a lot of times I was left to deal with my emotions by myself because I couldn't express how I feel. And so when you have these type of wounds, and then what happens when you have friends, you don't express yourself because you don't feel like they're going to value your opinion. And then by the time I could start becoming a teenager, and then met my ex-husband, and we were together and we got married years later, I would speak up, but I didn't back up my words with my actions because I felt like I said enough. I said what I had to say. You should have gotten it. But it was clear that they didn't care how I felt because they kept doing the same things over and over and over again. Because for some reason, somehow, I may not have showed you that I was standing on what I believe in this situation. So that I carried that all these years. And when you're carrying something and you don't even know you're carrying it in your energy all these years, and then when you start to finally decide to the point of the God told me to write the book was so I could heal, right? So when I started writing the book and it's all this stuff coming up, I'm like, okay, one at a time, I had to go back to, okay, what happened at that time? Who was involved? And how did I handle it? Right. So now my adult self, I soothe the little girl who didn't have the power to defend herself. I forgive the person for what they said or done. because the forgiveness is for me, not for them. And I release the attachment of having to be in control of an outcome.
Mhm.
Because the biggest thing for most of us is I got to control the outcome, because if I control the outcome, then I can protect myself. When I know, oh, I will always say, when I know the game, I can play my position, right? We want to control the situation so we can control the outcome to protect our hearts. If you feel you have to do that in a friendship or in a relationship, it's not one that you should be in. So that started my healing process. And listen, I've been on this journey since I found out in 2019 that I was adopted. 2020, I got my documentation of proof that I was adopted. I've been on this journey since 2020.
Mm. Wow.
So I had a lot to unpack. And I am in such a good place today. Oh my gosh. No is my favorite word. No, I'm not doing that. Not today. The phone can ring. I just let it go to voicemail. I don't need to answer that phone call right now. I'll deal with it later, because I have my boundaries. You know, when you don't have boundaries, you got to answer the call. You got to be at everything. You got to show up for everybody, and you're exhausted because that's how we're raised. Oh, you got to show up for everybody. No, not everybody. You show up for who's showing up for you, because reciprocity is real. You want it to be an equal give and take. And so that's where the boundaries come in.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, yes.
You're looking
You
mesmerized.
you just say things in such a way where it just hits home. Like, I feel like you're just so direct and to the point, and like, here it is. And I just love that.
Oh, thank you. I guess that's
Yeah.
the Philly in me. I guess that's the Philly
There
in
you
me. I'm,
go.
I'm from Philly.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, like,
But
you know what you're talking about, and you just say it. And yeah, that's super important. Yeah. I love it.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you've been living it, it becomes a part of who you are. 30 days of doing it is discipline. 60 days, the next 60 days, it becomes a habit, and 90 days it's a lifestyle. So, like I said, I've been on this journey since 2020. And it's been some highs and lows. However, and I appreciate all the moments of it, because in all of those moments, I'm learning so much about myself and evolving, and so much, and realizing, you know, it's okay. But certain people that may have been around for a long time, they're not there. Let me say something. When you start doing the healing work, there are going to be people who are just going to fall off by themselves. You don't have to do anything sometimes. That How they say that sometimes the trash will take out itself. Sometimes they not necessarily everybody's trash, but some people is, yeah. But there will be others that you may have had a great relationship with or a good relationship with, but you're just no longer on the same page anymore. And that's okay. It's okay. I still love you, but we're just not on the same page anymore. I wish you well.
Yeah.
Because too, you look up,
Okay. No, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, till you look up and you realize, well, did we really have much in common anyway?
Yep,
Go ahead.
exactly. Well, I was just saying, I found that the people you meet on the other side are the people who you needed in your orbit now. Like, oh my gosh, the support and just I want to say fulfillment. Like you said, you only want people who are helping you and you can help them, and having that equal
Mhm,
balance. And oh, it's
mhm.
just so much more beautiful than those friendships that just
Yeah,
suck everything from you.
so much easier. And I always tell people, you didn't lose anybody that you ever needed anyway.
Mhm. Yep.
You
Oh
didn't.
yeah. Yeah.
Those people knew that once you started doing the healing work, that they would no longer have any relevancy in your life. So they take a back seat, they step away, and they distance themselves from you. And that's okay, because what happens is God will bring people in your life that do belong there. And you pay attention to even the newness of meeting people. Just make sure that even in meeting new people, that you honor your boundaries.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I found that there was a time where you keep attracting what you know. And so in that transition period, there is a time of, oh, wait, this is the same thing, just a different person.
Exactly. Well,
So,
that's trauma bond. Trauma bonds attract
mhm,
trauma bonds. And I always tell people trauma attracts trauma. I have that actually on my speaker reel, and I teach about
mhm,
that trauma attracts trauma. Well, who will you attract? Because I found myself attracting the same type of guys. I'm like, why I keep attracting the same type of guys? And then I thought, okay, well, maybe let me go for the guy that looks a little different on the outer appearance, right?
mhm,
And it still didn't work because it was the same spirit. And so in doing my healing work, I said, okay, God, what is this? Well, I was attracting men who were emotionally unavailable because I was emotionally unavailable. I didn't know it because I didn't realize that I had walls up from my father, from my ex-husband, that was still there. They're in these invisible walls all around you. You don't realize that they're there because they're attached to the root of the wound. So when I started to do the work, the wall started melting, right? The wall started coming down, but then I stopped attracting those type of men. As a matter of fact, I wasn't attracting any because they may have liked me, but they probably stayed at a distance because they could look at me and tell she's not one to play these games with,
mhm,
because my aura is different. And also too, growing up so independent, and having to be independent, and then being divorced and being a single parent, I was forced to be in my masculine energy because I had to do it all, right? So I had to learn how to bring balance back in because the feminine energy was there, but I kept attracting feminine men because I was in my masculine energy. So I started to learn how to have that balance of, I don't have to do everything. I'm a master delegator. So delegate. You
yeah,
don't have to do everything. Let somebody else do it. Get somebody else to do it.
yeah.
I don't know how. Oh, I can't. Damsel in distress.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
can you open
that
this
vulnerable
jar for
time.
me? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
that
can you
vulnerable
change my
time.
tire? I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So tell us where we can find you. Where is your book available? Because I definitely want a copy. Especially when is your revision coming out? And you're a speaker, we're speaker sisters. And so if you have anything upcoming or anything like that, just share where my audience can find you because they need to.
Okay. They can find me on Facebook under Sonja Renee, SonjaRenee. TikTok is I am Sonja Renee. Instagram is I am Sonja Renee. But here's the thing. My website is www.linktree/I am Sonja Renee. And I know you'll put that link in the description. Once they click the link, all the link has everything to my website. It's a link to my book, which is on Amazon. You can go to Amazon and type in Abandonment is Not Your Fault. My book will pop up. uh my link to my podcast, which is Sipping with Sonja Talk Show, my YouTube page, Sipping with Sonja Talk Show, the all my social handles, everything is right there. So when they click on that link tree link, everything about Sonja pops up. Make it
So
so
simple.
easy
I
for
love
them.
it.
One click and it's
Mhm.
all there.
I love it. I love that. Awesome. Cool. And when does your revision come out for your book? Do you have a date?
It's almost done. I didn't set a date yet. I'm still writing, but I am halfway through. So, and I wrote my first book in 30 days. That's how,
Oh.
listen, when I tell you I took a deep dive, I took a deep dive. I just couldn't stop writing. So I had to start recording my voice, right. You speak it, it types the words for you. That's how fast my brain was going. So with the revision, I already started writing it. Halfway through. I did get a chance to do any writing last week because I am an actor, like I mentioned as well. And I was on set last week for a good 4 or 5 days. And then Sunday, we had a screening, a premiere for a movie I did last month. So this week it was pretty busy. So over today and then the rest of the week, I can finish working on it and get it published. And so one of the things you can look for, I just had a young lady reach out to me to be a part of a book of 29 other authors
Mhm.
of where they're going to collaborate to write a book about the empowerment and power of women in the future. So I'm doing my research on the young lady, and so far it's looking good. And so it looks like I may go ahead and jump into that, where that will be another book that I will be a part of to promote for women, to empower us, to help us be our best selves, and help us in all different walks of life and different arenas of life. As far as speaking engagements coming up, I don't have anything booked up just yet, but I had put a lot of fillers out there, and I had a couple people respond back to me to let me know that they will keep me in mind for their next event, because sometimes they already have their speakers lined up. So they was like, well, we definitely keep you in line for the next event that they have a little bit later in the year. So it's all about, sowing the seed, in time you reap a harvest. So we just keep sowing the seeds. Tuesday, Bridget, it's Tuesday.
It is,
So
yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, put those fillers out there, send those
Yep.
emails out. Yep,
Awesome.
so
I
that's what's
love
coming
it.
up.
Cool.
Mhm.
Oh, I love it. You're gonna love being in a collaborative book. I've done two, and oh, they're just amazing. The co-authors you have together and everything. That's it's so much
Mhm.
fun to have those co-author sisters, and then yeah, the books are so impactful because then you put all those stories together, and so I'm excited for you. I hope that
Mhm.
works out. So yeah, well,
Thank you.
thank you. I want to honor your time and just thank you for sharing everything you did today. It was so impactful, and I hope it just helps at least one person who's listening, as always. And uh, yeah, just thank you for being on here. So I appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the sisters group.
Yes, absolutely. All right, bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining us today on the Fierce Voice podcast. I truly hope you found healing insight, tools, and a space held for you in this journey. We are all in this together, and you are not alone. You can find me, your host, Brigette Gildemaster, on all social media platforms, and check out my website at www.brigittegildemaster.com, where you can listen to past Fierce Voice episodes, check out my media features, find my books, and inquire about booking me for your next virtual or in-person event. My keynotes are impactful with real-life stories, actionable tools, and inspiration for healing after a life-altering experience. Or check out my workshop event to learn more about how you can prevent abuse in your area. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time on the Fierce Voice Podcast.